that right? Kia ora e te whānau, ko Bonnie tōku ingoa, and welcome to the Come Dine on Me podcast. The podcast where I... Oh my goodness. Oh, are you okay? The podcast where I sit and yap while I breastfeed. The following episode has been split into 3 parts, as it is quite the tale. Oh, honey. So the first episode is the story of my induction of labour and how my labour went. The second episode is my actual birth story, and then the third episode is the aftermath of my birth. The first episode is really beautiful and empowering, same with the second episode. However, the third episode is quite intense and maybe a bit triggering to some. Everything turned out okay. We're all healthy and safe now, but it was a bit of a tough road. So if you are only in it for the first 2, that is so fine. Thank you very much for watching anyways. And I completely understand you have to protect your own peace and do what you got to do. If you are interested, it is not a negative story. It's not like horrible. Nothing bad happens. Nothing really bad happens. It's just a bit more intense than it was planned to be. And if that's not for you, then that's totally fine. So just skip that third episode, which will be the aftermath of my birth. So just know, if that's not for you, then just stop at episode 2 and pretend it was a beautiful, happy birth and everything went totally to plan and everything is perfectly fine. Everything is perfectly fine now. Everything did turn out perfectly fine, but yeah, we had a bit of a road to get there. So anyways, I hope you enjoy this episode. This episode is the birth story. Enjoy yourself and take it away past Bonnie. Lo and behold, literally the second I walked into the bathroom, I was like, I just felt a leak. And my waters had broken. I walked in the room and then I just felt like a little gush. I was like, oh. So I told the midwife, I was like, I just felt a leak. And yeah, she kind of just looked at me and was like, okay, let's check. And I was like, okay. And then I just walked to the toilet. And you know, when you're about to give birth, you have to start preparing for, for no F's to be given, basically. So yeah, I just put my pants off, and I'd already been wearing a pad, because I've been wearing pads since pretty much the start of my pregnancy, because I was having a lot of accidents. So yeah, good thing I was wearing a pad, because yeah, my waters had broken, and it was green, which is not ideal. So she said that meant that there was meconium, which if you are unaware what that is, it is the first poo, basically, baby's first poo. And if there's meconium in your waters, it means that baby has gotten distressed for some reason and has pooed inside you, which is not good. It's not necessarily life-threatening or anything, but it can be if baby were to inhale it or ingest it. That could be really dangerous. So, if there's meconium in your waters when your water's broken, then that's a cause for concern and that you need to be getting straight onto monitors, basically. But she didn't tell me that at that time. I don't think she quite knew how serious it could be. She definitely knew that it wasn't good. So she was like, okay, I'm just going to go and see the team about this, BRB, basically. I was like, okay, all good. Well, I'm getting in the shower. So yeah, I literally stripped off, got in the shower, stood there for maybe 2 minutes, and then she was back and was basically like, yeah, we need to get you on the monitors. So sorry, but you're gonna have to get out. And I was like, oh, okay. I'd literally just started washing myself, so I was like, all right, just let me finish washing myself. Um, but because I was in labor, like in severe active labor, my contractions were really bad, and it was really hard to like do anything. So I was much slower washing myself than I would have been, but also like because I just had to keep stopping to brace myself against the contractions, basically. Um, but also like they were making me a little bit panicky. Like the contractions were starting to make me a bit panicky because they hurt so much. Um, and then I was also like, oh God, if they hurt this much with the water, I'm gonna have to stop and get out, and then they're gonna be even worse. So I won't even have any relief or any distraction, kind of thing. So yeah, that the prospect of doing that was really hard. So it was honestly really difficult to get out of the shower. Like the midwife came back like 3 times, and by the end she was like, "Please come on! I really need. We should have been out of there on the monitors 20 minutes ago." I was like, "You didn't make that clear." Yeah, I was just in so much pain, and because I was in so much pain, I was feeling distressed and you know like freaking out a bit. And yeah, my partner was trying to get me dressed and into the hospital gown. Um, it was a lot. It was all guns blazing. Everything was happening at once. And I sort of was starting to feel like I was losing control of myself, like mentally, I think. Like, not like in a horrible way, but just, things was, the tide was rising and I was about up to here by that point. So, yeah, things were pretty intense. Um, Finally, I managed to convince myself to turn off the shower and get dressed into my hospital gown so they could take me to the birthing suite um, and put me on the monitors. So I like finally got in there. If you know what a hospital gown is like, you know that they are Velcro, well, not even Velcro, they're like tied by string out the back in like one place, maybe two. So I was like trying to hold the back of the gown so that my bum was covered because I knew, like, I wouldn't have cared probably that much if Kaz hadn't been in the room, but I felt like I needed to have some modesty. Um, that went out the window pretty quick, but at that point, I still felt like I needed it. And then, yeah, so I got on the bed. Well, they got me on the bed. They put the monitors on me, like the belly strap monitors, and then like the clampy finger one. I think at first they had a little bit of a hard time finding her heart rate. Like they knew she was still okay. Well, it wasn't to the point of that kind of concern yet. I think it was more just because I was in so much pain. I was really finding it hard to stay still and like, you know, I was kind of writhing around a little bit because at that point the only pain relief I had at all was codeine and Panadol, which is like pouring a cup of water on a forest fire. I don't think it was doing anything. Like I really think it did absolutely nothing. Um, so yeah, I basically was raw dogging it at that point and was in a lot of discomfort. Yeah, so I was kind of struggling to keep it together and stay calm and stay still. But once they got it in the right place, they found her heart. She was fine. Um, I think her heart rate was a little bit elevated, and like that may have been why well, it was either that was why there was meconium, or her heart rate being elevated was also a result of her being distressed. So they weren't too sure yet. I think they gave me another dose. I'm pretty sure they did give me another dose of the meds while I was in the birthing suite, which I was like, are you serious? Do I really need this right now? I'm literally like leaking. Baby is coming. Like this, I feel is unnecessary. But, and like at that point, I was really like, I grit my teeth and bear it kind of thing because I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I don't know if I can take another dose of medication knowing that I'm already at this point. Like, it was kind of a lot. But I just did what I had to do. again, I sort of got to that point where I was like, well, it's only going to make it come faster. It's only going to make it a shorter experience. So I guess it's worth it. At this point, I was just like, oh my god, when, how much longer? Like, I don't. I feel like I lost all clear thought. I don't even know if I was really thinking much anymore. Um, I think I was just experiencing and just taking every moment as it came. Um, I don't have a whole lot of clear memory from sort of this point onwards because I was very much just like taking it breath by breath, basically. Um, at some point, my midwife arrived, and I was so relieved. As soon as she walked in, I felt like a weight had lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I could finally relax. I felt like I just like could let out my breath, and I was like, oh, hooray! She's finally here. I'm finally, I'm in the right place. I'm in the right hands. I'm, progressing well. Things are as they're supposed to be, basically. And I was so stoked that she was there. So she, came in, gloved up, got ready to rumble, and talked to the team that was with me, and asked what was going on, and they gave her the rundown, basically gave her all the vitals that she needed to know, all the numbers that I didn't understand, and all that kind of stuff. Actually, huge part that I forgot about. When I was still in the other room, before I went to the shower, I knew that this was coming because they did warn me at my midwife appointments. Because I had gestational diabetes, I was going to have an IV line put in ahead of time so that if anything went wrong during the birth or the labour, they could basically just like put whatever they needed to put in me straight away. And also because I was going to need to have a injection after I'd given birth to help get the placenta out, I'm pretty sure. Basically, don't take this as medical advice by any means. This is just my own experience, and I don't remember everything because I'm not that well versed in all of that kind of medical side of things. So the nurse or the midwife who told me to turn my music down, she came in and was like, "Okay, it's time to put your IV line in." I'm guessing this was before I got really bad. Like, I think this was before I even asked for the pain meds. I'm not sure. It was when I was like up there because they were like, okay, it's time to do this because you're going to be ready to rumble soon. But I think it was before the pain got really bad. But when it was pretty bad. Now, it must have been after I asked for the pain meds, actually. I think that's probably the indication that they knew that they should do it. Anyways, doesn't really matter. She came in and she's like, all right, time to put your IV line in. And I was like, okay. Because I hate getting IV lines. I don't really have a problem with needles, but IVs are just knowing I was going to have it sticking out of my body, basically, and it was going to have to stay there. I was not excited about that. So I was, well, I know that it doesn't hurt as much having it in your, like, elbow, an elbow, because that's where you get it for, like, blood tests and things. However, I'd heard that wasn't very comfortable for during labour, especially if you have to have it in for several hours, because it makes it hard for you to move your arm. So they were going to put it in my hand, which I was not stoked about because I've had IVs in my hand before and they're not very comfortable. But yeah, it's another one of those you just have to do what you got to do situations. So I gave her my hand and she went to put the bloody IV line in and she missed the first time. So she took it out, like, she was like, oh, sorry, I have to try again. Let's try it again. Missed again. I don't know if, I think the first time she missed, and then the second time I'm pretty sure that she went through the vein, like, both, like, on both sides of the vein. But, bro, it was so sore. Like, it actually hurt so bad. Oh, I swear getting the IVs was worse than the contractions. Like, it was so sore. Obviously, the contractions are more intense and they're more, like, hectic. But, like, the actual type of pain, the IV was worse. Horrible. At that point, she was like, oh, okay, well, it's not... I was bleeding a lot also. But yeah, at that point, she was like, oh, okay, well, I'll just leave it and we'll get an anesthetist to do it for me, kind of thing. I was like, okay, thanks. Like, I really hurt. Ugh, it was horrible. But all that to say, by the time I got back to the birthing suite and they got me on the monitors and all of that, and my midwife was there, she was like, oh, let's try that IV line again. Like the same one who did it in the first place and missed twice. She tried again. And she missed again. And it freaking hurt. And at that point, I was like, I'm done with this. Like, I'm so done with this. And I was a bit annoyed because I was like, you said you were going to get an anaesthetist to do it. Why did you even bother trying again? Honestly, why did you put me through that again? So, yeah, I was a bit upset by that. Jake's mum was still, she was mad about that. Like, she didn't say anything to her. Again, at no point did anything that bothered us actually get expressed to them, especially not in a rude way. But yeah, that's one of the points of contention we still discuss after the fact. But yeah, after she failed 3 times and caused me serious pain, they did actually get an anaesthetist to come in, and she literally just pulled it, like hiked her pants up, sat down, got it in straight away, and it didn't hurt this time. And I was like, oh, thank God! Like, oh, praise the Lord. I'm pretty sure that by that point they'd had, because she'd poked me so many times, they couldn't put it in my hand anymore, so they had to put it in my wrist, I'm pretty sure, and like the thumb part of my wrist. Horrible. But at least they got it in straight away and it didn't hurt that time. I was like, thank God. I was very grateful that they finally got it sorted. I'm not 100% sure on the order of affairs of everything going on at this point, but yeah, I remember being very uncomfortable and they put me on monitors and they put me on the monitors around my belly, and I was like, I can't be on my back anymore. Like, I physically cannot do it. It hurts so much. So I just like didn't really care, and I just rolled over and got on my hands and knees and like asked them to try and fix the monitors so that I could be in a different position. It took them ages to find her heart rate again once, because I kind of mucked up the monitors by doing that. But honestly, I didn't care. I literally just could not physically be on my back anymore. It hurt so much. It was in so much discomfort. I was like, I need to move. So I did it. It took them probably like 10 minutes to find her heart rate again with the monitors. And when they did, it was like, yeah, no, you can't be in that position. She doesn't like it. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. She doesn't like it. Because obviously it was affecting her and making her heart rate go funny. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll just sit back where I was. But at least by that point, I'd been on my hands and knees for a while, so I'd had a bit of relief. And I'm pretty sure it was around that point where my midwife, because I'm pretty certain it was my midwife who suggested it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. At that point, I think it was at that point that they were like, do you want the gas? And I was like, yes, I do. That sounds great. Because I knew that, if I didn't like it or if I wanted it to stop, I could just stop taking it. And it would, like, I'd come back down and come back to normal. So I was like, yes, please, I need something. I can't do this by myself anymore. This is a bit much. Because, like, I'd been in labour at this point for hours. Like, because I got there at 7 a.m. By the time my midwife arrived, I'm pretty sure it was about 8 or 9 p.m. So I'd probably started having noticeable contractions around maybe 2 or 3 p.m. So yeah, I'd been actively in labour for a long time at that point. If some people who've given birth and who've had longer labours will be like, that's nothing. Yeah, okay, sure. This is my experience and it's the only one I've got. To me, it felt like forever. But also, like, hardly any time at all. So, but yeah. It was like I'd been sore for a long time at that point, and it was only getting worse, and it was getting worse pretty quickly because of the induction medicine. So, yeah, I was like, yes, please, I need something. It had been a couple hours at least since the codeine and the Panadol had done nothing. So, and quite some time since I got out of the hot shower. So yeah, I've been raw dogging it for a long time, and I was feeling pretty like overwhelmed by the pain and it was starting to take a toll on me. So I was like, yes, I need something. And let me tell you, that stuff is heaven sent. Thank God for modern medicine because that was the stuff. Like I needed that so bad, and it helped big time. Like it doesn't really stop the pain. Like you still feel the pain, but it takes you away mentally. So it's like your brain isn't. It's not really in contact with your body the same way. Like when you're in your body normally, it's like you're fused together. There's no separation. When you're on the gas, it's like your brain has gone down a long foggy tunnel away from your body. So like you still know what's going on. It's still happening, but you're just so separated from it that it doesn't really bother you the same. So yeah, thank the Lord for the Gasonex. That stuff was 10 out of 10. I would recommend. If you don't want to have an epidural but you think you might need some pain relief, that's the stuff. Like, honestly, so good. It's not for everyone. I've heard it can make some people feel a bit sick. It has some side effects. They're not, I don't think they're major, but everyone's different. But yeah, for me, that was the stuff. I will 100% be using that next time. But yeah, as soon as I started huffing on that stuff, I felt so much better. I felt like I could relax finally and get some rest in between my contractions. Um, and I was like it helped me breathe through my contractions as well because I was obviously having to inhale and exhale the gas to use it. So yeah, it was really, really, really helpful. So this was the point where all bets were off. I did not care what was going on around me. I didn't care who was in the room. Um, I had no manners left because I just didn't have any F's to give. I was so in the zone that, and in pain, that I was just very straight up and honest. So like throughout the next couple of hours until pretty much when I was giving birth, I had my partner on one side of me holding the gas hose in my hand, and my mum or Jake's mum taking turns on the other side of me, putting a wet cloth on my forehead and like re-wetting it for me, or holding my other hand, like passing me water, and like literally I'd just lay there huffing my gas in between whenever I needed something. I'd just say water, open my mouth, and they'd put my straw in my mouth. Or I'd say flannel, and then I'd wet the flannel and put it over my forehead, and I kept putting it over my eyes so that I could have darkness as well, just to really like remove as much of the sensory input as I could, considering I was already going through so much. I just could not deal with anything else. Yeah, that was when I was just asking for what I wanted and getting it. And if I wasn't getting it fast enough, then I started being like, hurry up. Like, I wasn't like, hurry up, but I was like, flannel, 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 flannel. Like, water, water, water. Um, and I just had to hope and pray that the people around me were, obviously understanding enough to know that I wasn't trying to be rude to them. I was just going through it. And they were. They were totally awesome about it. I don't remember this, but apparently at one point Jake was like kissing my hand, and I told him to stop because it was gross. I think it was because he was like leaving, a bit of slobber on my hand. I was like, absolutely not. Get off me. I'm like, cut that out. Jake's mum told me about it afterwards, and I was like, that is so funny, but I'm so sorry at the same time. But yeah, pretty much that went on until birth, really, because I was, just going through my contractions, using the gas, and whenever I'd feel the pain of the contraction, I'd like squeeze my mum or partner's hand, whoever's hand I was holding. I'd squeeze their hand and like exhale through contraction and, you know, suck up the gas.
These makes it quite dry. Take away.
And then they got to like top level kind of thing, and I knew that it was like the time was coming. My midwife kept checking me throughout the whole time. You know, they were obviously keeping an eye on my monitors. I think at some point she did a cervical exam to see, you know, how far along we were, and she couldn't feel my cervix anymore. She could just feel baby's head. So she was like, "Yeah, she's coming. Like, there's no stopping her now." Yeah, well, I don't really know exactly what point these things all happened, but um, at some point before I started pushing, I was getting more and more vocal when the contractions were getting really, really bad. I couldn't just be quiet anymore. I was definitely like inhaling the gas and then like on the way out kind of thing. At some point, I know I was like, just because I don't know, I did it once and then the vibration on my face felt really good. Just, I guess, a different type of sensation to focus on. So I kept doing that for a while. And then at some point, when things got really intense, I told my midwife, I was like, I need to push. Like, I can tell I'm going to need to push soon. Which is crazy because I obviously haven't been through this before. So it was really crazy to me that I knew that it was coming, that I knew that I was going to need to push. I was like, wow, my body really does just know what it's doing. Like, it was pretty awesome. I got to the point of needing to push, and I was like, I'm pushing, like, it's time. I'm pushing. And when I started pushing, I got loud. Like, and I felt bad for everybody else. I felt bad for everyone in the room. I felt bad for Kaz in particular because he wasn't meant to be there. So I was like, this is a lot. And I felt bad for anybody else in the vicinity who could hear. But yeah, when I was pushing, I was like sucking in the gas and then yelling on the way out. It wasn't really from pain, it was more like to get the force behind it so I could, like, same sort of thing as when I was singing. The singing was to help with the pain, but it was also like when I was in pain and I was singing louder, it was about the force. Like I needed to use the force of my voice to help with the pain. So for when I was pushing, I needed the force of my voice to help with the pushing. That was a good burp. Nice one. So yeah, I was like yelling at the top of my lungs, like absolutely at the top of my voice. Which I've a pretty loud voice, like, so yeah, I'm sure they heard me from 2 wards away probably. But yeah, it was kind of intense. My brother-in-law kept trying to leave and then he couldn't stay away, so he kept coming back, which is quite funny. Like, I was like, fair enough, I don't blame you for wanting to leave. I wouldn't want to be in here while somebody else is giving birth. But especially if they were making that much noise. But like, because the noise of me yelling was definitely bothering him. But then he'd go out, and then 2 minutes later he'd come back in because I'd be yelling again, and he couldn't stay away, knowing I was in that much pain. He couldn't just sit out there and like listen. So yeah, I think he came in and out about 8 times. But eventually he decided he was staying. But like, I mean, the vocalizing was helping because I pushed for maybe not even 30 minutes, I don't think. And like, I could feel with every push that she was like coming down. Like, I remember at one point, I pushed and I could feel that she wasn't in my tummy anymore. And I said that I was like, she's not in my tummy anymore. Um, I could feel that she was all pelvis, etc. Like, so that was pretty crazy because I just obviously spent the last 9, 10 basically months with her in my belly, and now she's not in my belly anymore. Like, she's still inside my body, but she's not in my belly anymore. That was pretty crazy. That was a really weird feeling, actually. And I think I was originally like intending to birth standing up or on my hands and knees, whatever, like basically just trying to use gravity and not be birthing on my back, because I know that when you're lying on your back, your pelvis is angled like this, so the baby has to go uphill to get out. I couldn't be on my hands and knees because she didn't like it. And I couldn't stand up because I just felt like I just couldn't, like I was too exhausted. There was just no way I was going to be able to stand up. So it actually felt best for me to be lying on my back, and just like in between contractions, especially during the point before I was pushing. But even while I was pushing, I was basically nearly falling asleep in between contractions just because I was like breathing in the gas and just able to relax. Um, and then obviously when the contractions were hitting, then I was like in the moment, and in the thick of it. But it was definitely not as bad with the gas for sure. What's happening for you right now? Are you okay? Yeah, you're okay. Okay. How about we just lie back? Just lie back. I found the gas was really helping to like, because it was disconnecting my brain from my body, it was making me like stay out of my head so much. So I wasn't like, I was out of that point where I was sort of panicking from the pain. And I was just able to really relax in between the contractions, and just kind of like let my body do its thing. Like, I wasn't really thinking, oh, I'm so sore, or I'm going to need to push soon, or anything like that. Like, I just, well, like, I wasn't wondering when I'm going to need to push. I wasn't wondering, oh, like, how much longer am I going to be contracting for, or any of that kind of stuff. It was just taking it breath by breath, and not even really thinking about it anymore. I was just letting it happen. And I think because of that, it was like really helpful in making my labor and my birth progress quickly. Like, obviously the induction medicine definitely had a very heavy role in that, but I think that, not like, firstly mentally not thinking about things too much, but also just letting my body do its thing, and um, not really feeling like I had to be the driver in those circumstances. I think that really helped to progress my labor and my birth quickly. Um, because yeah, by the time I was pushing, I knew I needed to push. I wasn't thinking about it. I just could tell I needed to push. And then when I was pushing, I wasn't thinking about pushing either. I was just breathing the gas in. And when I felt the need to push, I was just doing it. What? Yeah, just the fetal ejection reflex doing its thing. Which was honestly amazing, because then it just made pushing really straightforward. And my midwife was a really awesome coach at pushing, because you know, obviously I haven't pushed a baby out before, so I wasn't. It's not as intuitive as you'd think either. Um, I guess because you are aware of the fact that you're pushing a really big thing out of a small place, kind of thing. Um, and it hurts and it's uncomfortable and it's scary and there's a lot of pressure, and you're worried about tearing and all the things. So it was really good to have her there to just tell me what to do specifically and how to push exactly. And I just did what she told me and it worked. Like, because it's not actually a long way for the baby to have to come from your belly to the outside world, but it feels like a long way, especially when you go on, little step by little step. Um, so the first, little while of pushing, she's not near coming out yet. She's just on her way down. So those parts I could do by myself without coaching, and it was all good. But once she could see the head, then she had to like tell me how to push so that I was doing it right and I wasn't wasting my contractions or wasting my pushes, wasting my energy. So yeah, the way she described it was like push down into your bottom, which was a strange feeling, but I did it, and the whole time I was kind of like, oh my god, I'm gonna poop my pants. Oh my god, I'm gonna poop. But I didn't. So it was a good thing I went to the toilet when I needed to because there wasn't anything there to come out. So solid effort, just bypassed, right past it. And K2 didn't need to do that, which I was stoked about because I was fully anticipating that to happen. And I was like, God, I really don't want that to happen with this much of an audience. But no, it didn't. But yeah, my midwife was saying like when we get to this stage of pushing, usually there's a bit of in and out, like you push, and like she'll come halfway out, and then kind of as you breathe back in again, she'll go up a little bit, and then you have to like sort of like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, kind of thing. But the way she coached me in my pushing was, and plus like that, plus the fact that I wasn't like I wasn't in my head about it, and I was just letting my body do its thing. I think the combination of the two made it like really effective pushing. So I didn't end up having any of that in and out sort of stuff. It was like every push she was coming more out, and she was staying there. So yeah, I pushed for about 30 minutes ish, and I remember it got to the point where like they were like, "Yep, her head's there," like just one more push and her head will be out, kind of thing. And yeah, I felt that ring of fire, and I can see why it's called that. That is for sure. Honestly, I was expecting the pain to be worse, and I think if I didn't have the gas, it definitely would have been as bad as I was expecting. But it was definitely bearable with the gas. But like for sure, I could tell why they called it that. It was pretty intense. But yeah, I pushed through it. I kept going. Just did what she told me, and I kept going and kept going. And then I felt her head come out, and like, let me tell you, the feeling of the head being out and the body still being in, and knowing you've only got 1 or 2 more pushes and like she's out, is like the most relieving feeling in the whole world. It was actually so incredible. Like, I just kind of felt like I'd got to the peak of the mountain and finally made it to the top, and like all I have to do now is go down the other side. It was really like an amazing feeling. I felt so relieved, but I also felt so proud of myself. And yeah, there was like a huge rush of adrenaline, endorphins, pride, everything. It was a fantastic feeling. And then yeah, pretty much it was like only a little bit more to go. And then I just waited for the next contraction, and when it came, I rode the wave, let my body push her out, and I'm pretty sure she came, like the rest of her came out in that one push. And yeah, they grabbed her, guided her out. Apparently, she came out with her hand up by her face and scratched her eyelid on the way out. Poor thing. So she had a little scratch on her eye. And she like didn't get stuck, but like there was a point where she would have got stuck, but then she turned herself just as I was about to push. She turned herself a little bit, which helped her get out properly. And yeah, she came out all in one go. Okay, I think that's enough now. I think you've had enough. We have some cuddles now. But yeah, they pulled her out. They laid her on my chest. They put her up through my hospital gown, laid her on my chest. And I just remember like it was absolutely otherworldly experience. I was going through a lot of endorphins and adrenaline, so I was kind of shaking a bit, and I was very I was kind of laughing because I was just so overjoyed, a bit overwhelmed. I was going through a lot of very positive feelings all at once. I thought I was going to cry, but I didn't cry. I was just like, oh my gosh. I can put the clip in censored. It's not terribly graphic anyways, but...
Lashes, girlfriend. My neighbour just got lashes. Oh, look, she's done another pull on you. Just like her dad.
Well done, guys.
Oh my gosh, look at her.
Yeah, 5 past. 5 past.
I think might be okay. It's not very like torn.
Hello, beautiful.
Should we set you up a little
Sammy, are
bit?
you okay if I go, or do you want me to stay for...
Yeah, there was a lot going on. It was really intense. It was beautiful. I was so happy. So relieved. Just, yeah, it was awesome. And my partner was like, I think he started crying pretty much straight away. He just was like hugging me and stroking my hair and just telling me how proud he was of me and how much he loved me. And I was just staring at her and holding her and just like, oh my goodness, like, she's perfect. She's just beautiful. Like, I'm one who's pretty honest, and I do think that newborn babies tend to look a little alieny when they first come out. Not their fault. They've just gone through quite a lot. But she was just beautiful. Like, she really was. I just thought she was the most perfect thing on the planet. And the first thing that my midwife said was, oh, nice, good job, darling. The first thing my midwife said was, oh, look at those eyelashes. And she does. She's got really long, beautiful eyelashes. She gets those from her dad. I just held her and was so excited. And, you know, everyone was doing the things they needed to do around me. Like, my midwife was doing what she needed to do. The other nurses and stuff were there doing what they needed to do. I don't really know what they were doing, but whatever they needed to do, they were doing it. My mum and Jake's mum were both so excited. Jake's mum was filming, so she videoed a lot. I'm not sure exactly how long it took for them to do all this, but they let the cord, you know, pump what it needed to pump into her, and then they asked Jake if he wanted to tie the cord, because we were using muka ties that I'd made myself at a pregnancy course that I went to for, I mean, it is for Māori parents, but it's also just for like Māori birthing practices. So you don't have to be Māori to go. But one of the things that we do is we weave cord clamping ties out of muka, which is a fibre of the flax plant. And we use those to clamp the cord because they have healing properties, and they dry out the cord faster than the plastic clamp, and obviously it's less plastic waste going into the ground. And one of our traditional practices is that we keep the stump when it falls off, and we bury it wherever we want to. Generally it'll be with the placenta, which we also keep and bury. And that would usually go to like the marae where your whakapapa or where your family comes from, or, you know, your homeland essentially, and that's to create a lasting connection, like pretty much just ties your baby to the land where your family comes from. And you can bury them in 2 different places if you want, or you can bury them both in the same place. I chose to keep hers and bury it in in my mum's front yard. She has a rose garden, so I bought an azalea plant, and we buried it and put the azalea plant on top, so that will be her flower bush. It is, like, all the flowers are totally dead at the moment, but I think it's a little bit past it in the season for them at the moment, and, like, you know, it has to establish itself in the ground because it was in a pot, so it'll be right, it'll come right eventually, or, you know, next season it'll flower, whatever. I'll stop. I have to get you a bottle. Get you a bottle in a minute. But yeah, anyways, all that to say, they asked Jake if he wanted to tie the cord, and he said yes.
Okay. And you want to pull it really tight. Tight, like literally as tight as you can.
Oh, okay, it's just slipping.
Do you want me to do the first bit? You pull that as tight as you can.
You've got the little Mary nose, right?
Through. So you want to wrap it around again.
Yep. And then go
I know, sweetheart.
the same wrap again
Yep.
underneath.
And then tie it.
So make sure it's all in the same spot, nice
And then bring it around here and tie it over. And pull it as tight as you can again. Like as tight as you can.
You're trying to find Mama.
We usually do 2 ties just to be safe. After the first one was done, they asked who was going to cut the cord, and I had Jake's mum cut the cord. So she did that, and it was definitely a little bit freaky for her, I think, because there was a little bit of blood. And she was like, "Oh my god, what have I done?" But it was okay. It was just a little bit of blood left over from the cord.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, I just cut. It's
Yep.
bristly, eh?
Yep. Perfect.
Oh,
A little bit of blood is normal. Yep. It's just the blood from the little bit of blood from the cord.
And then they asked Mum to do the second tie for the cord, but she was getting a little cold, so Mum was like, "We can do that later, like, don't worry about that, let's just make sure she's warm." So they put her back on me and cuddled her up with me and put a wee hat on her. Oh no, they couldn't put the hat on her because it was too big. Or too small, one of the two, I can't remember. But yeah, they just put some blankets over the top of her and made sure she was nice and warm. And then I got too hot. So I asked Jake to take her because I was like, I have plenty of time with her right now. I'm like getting a bit overstimulated. Just been through quite a lot, and as much as I love her so much, I'm so excited to have her here. I would like it if you'd take her for a bit. So yeah, he took her and he did some skin to skin with her. And at that point, that's when things started to go downhill. So if that's not something you want to hear about, then just finish the video here because you've just heard a really lovely, beautiful, positive birth story, and you can pretend that that's where it ends. And and it was up until that point, it was beautiful and positive and really wonderful. So you can leave now if you think that this is going to be too much for you. Thank you for coming, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. The next episode will be out in 2 more weeks, so I will see you then. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share the video, turn on your notifications, and I'll see you guys in the next episode. Ka kite.